next one has many, many layers to it and just keeps getting worse because it started as a missing persons case in Florida and then quickly turned into something that people are comparing to a real life episode of Dexter and not just in a casual way. So here's what we know. Back on March 28th, police in Palm Bay, Florida were called out to a remote area known as the Compound after people noticed vultures circling around an abandoned suitcase. And when officers got there, they didn't just find one suitcase, they found two, and both contained human remains. And when officers got there, they didn't find just one suitcase, they found two, both containing human remains. And inside one of those suitcases, investigators found a knife and an Amazon package with a name on it, Lucas Sander Jones. So almost immediately, police had a lead and a lot of questions that needed to be answered. And when they started digging into that, everything started to unravel. Because around that same time, a 28-year-old man named Coley Daniel had just been reported missing. And he had last been seen on March 20th going into 19-year-old Lucas Jones's house, that same person whose name was on that Amazon package. Now here's where things start to get strange. According to the court documents, Coley's parents actually went looking for him that night when he didn't come home. They used Find My iPhone to track Coley's iPad and ended up at Lucas's house. When they went up to the door, asking to see Coley, just wondering where he was, Lucas said that he was inside, but that he didn't want to come to the door. So Coley's parents refused to leave until they actually saw him with their own eyes, but Lucas refused to let them in. Police even responded shortly after and again the next morning, but Lucas also refused to let them in and reported that there were no signs of Coley being at the house. So now investigators were working backwards. There were two suitcases found with human remains, connecting to that missing person and going back to the last place where that missing person was seen alive. And again, that led them right back to Lucas's house. And when they executed their search warrant, they reportedly found blood inside the home and a knife similar to the one recovered from the suitcases. But then came something else that really shifted everything, because a huge part of the case came from Lucas's girlfriend. At first, she gave police a version of events that wasn't entirely accurate. But later she came back and changed her whole story, and what she told them was honestly chilling. She said that Lucas confessed to her, telling her, quote, "I killed somebody and cut him up." And according to her statement, he didn't just say it, but he explained exactly what had happened. She told investigators that Lucas said he beat Coley with a baseball bat, then dismembered his body using a knife, cleaver, and saw, before placing the remains into suitcases and dumping them at the compound, which again lines up exactly with what police found. Now, the girlfriend's statements don't stop there. She allegedly told police she initially lied because Lucas had coached her on what to say and that she was afraid of him, to the point where she thought she could even be next. She also described there being blood in the house, being asked to help clean, and even driving Lucas to the compound and seeing him unload containers and leave them there, not knowing what he was dumping. But what was Lucas's motive? Well, according to investigators, this wasn't random. They believe he specifically targeted Coley because he was a registered sex offender. There are even claims that Lucas had looked up or printed lists of sex offenders in the area beforehand. So when you hear what comes next, just keep that in mind. Because the part that has shocked everyone is that investigators say Lucas allegedly kept some of the victim's blood on microscope slides, which is why some people are drawing comparisons to the TV show Dexter, mostly because of the blood on the slides, but also because of this idea of vigilante justice. And as far as charges go, this escalated very quickly. Lucas was initially arrested on charges related to tampering with evidence, abuse of a corpse, and improper disposal of human remains. And he actually bonded out. But then, just days later, he was rearrested on a second-degree murder charge and is now being held without bond. At this point, investigators have confirmed this was a homicide involving blunt force trauma and dismemberment. And what investigators are saying about the motive, there may still be a lot more to this case than what happened just that night. So we'll be following along to see if there's any more answers or explanation as to why he did this.